was really moving, and I want to just thank you all for the courage that it took to sit up here, and it really is all about, this is a totally parent-driven movement. It's been that way from the beginning, and we have a really long way to go. And I'm so grateful to be here and just be in the dialogue. And every single reason why any of you are here is crucial to the success of moving the intention of getting our children healed and diagnosed and treated in a timely manner. Every single thing why somebody is here today, whether you're a child, a student, a provider, someone in the schools, or a parent, or a friend of a parent, or a grandparent, every single one of you are necessary to make this happen. So thank you so much for being here. My name is Amy Smith. I'm on the board of PandasNetwork. I'm also a nurse practitioner. I treat children with pandas and their families on the West Coast. And my son is fully recovered from pandas. He's going into his sophomore year of college. And it's really miraculous. And that is a whole other story. And I have just a few minutes to share about PandasNetwork with you as a resource, and that is really my intention of being up here. I appreciate everyone who has stopped by the table and talked, taken literature. Everything that PandasNetwork does is geared towards promoting awareness of pandas through education, outreach, research, and advocacy, just like the Midwest Pandas Parent Association. We started as a small grassroots collective of families in 2009 and became a formal nonprofit incorporated in 2013. Every month, over 10,000 people visit our website, and not just hits. These are actual browsing sessions where people are looking through our toolkits, our resources, our databases, and downloading information. We have a newsletter that goes out every month to over 4,200 people, and 60 new people sign up to receive our newsletter every month. People are really, really hungry for this information, and we send and correspond to parents all over the world. And just while we're talking about the website, I want to, many of you may have not been on the website, in one of the tabs at the top, there's a resource tab. And because we're talking a lot about education and how integral engagement with the schools are this afternoon, I just want to point your attention to one thing, which is in the resource tab, you'll find toolkits. And under toolkits, one of those toolkits is for school. And under that school toolkit, it's huge. It has assessment tools, accommodation strategies. There are letter templates that you can use, that you can download to fill in your own child's, specific information to communicate really clearly with your school. So I really recommend that. Also, there are so many articles in that toolkit for guidance counselors, school therapists, PT and OT at school, ancillary services, school nurses, and special ed teachers with specific information and recommendations and advice on accommodating and caring for and screening for pandas. 1 in 200 children is considered to have PANS or pandas by the National Institutes of Health. I'm not making up that number. 1 in 200 children. That's every school, that's every Boy Scout troop, that's everything, everywhere. There is at least one pandas child, probably more, and likely undiagnosed. We are really proud that last year, parents donated $150,000 to Pandas Network to distribute. And the money made a really great impact. We helped fund the conferences at Brown University in the fall, and the Pandas Parent Symposium last April in San Francisco. There were 2 sizable donations that were earmarked, one for research at Mass General in Boston, and one for a study on epigenetics for Dr. Tanya Murphy at University of South Florida. And we also were able to distribute seed money to providers for projects and research, including Dr. Michael Cooperstock for his molecular antibody research, and to Beth Latimer in the DC area for her tonsil study with Dr. Harley, and that information is going to come out already. Her abstract was released. And also to Tim Sorrell, working on his documentary, and others. One trend I want to share with you, which is pretty exciting to us, is that this year we are noticing for the first time parents calling in looking for information on their new onset cases of their child who is only maybe a week or 2 fresh from their initial onset of symptoms. Now, and then they move right into diagnosis and treatment, because we have on our website and through networking over 100 providers from around the country. And, you know, my son was sick for way over 3 years before we ever figured out that he had Pandas. And I've spoken to a lot of people in this room that equally took long periods of time. In 2012, we did the first parent-parent symposium in San Francisco, and we did a survey of the parents, and almost 60% said that it took 3 years or more to diagnose their child with Pandas from the time of onset, which is criminal. And we had 18% of the parents said that it had been less than 6 months, 6 months or under. We didn't even do anything under 6 months. That was our lowest category, which is also criminal, but perfectly reflective of the time. And we just said there's no way that we should stand for asking parents whether it took 6 months to diagnose their child. And so these families are calling in so much faster because of the work that everybody is doing, disseminating information, making it accessible. And then when we call these families back a couple of months later just to see how they're doing, they're like, oh, we're fine. We're fine. How are you? Okay. Now, for those of us who have endured the worst Pandas hell on earth, night after night, week after week, and year after year, that's unthinkable. It's why we're doing this, but it's incredible. And we wonder, do these families know the fate that was averted for their lives and their children and their dreams and their finances and everything else? Is really miraculous. And we've all done that, but we have a long way to go. Last night, I was talking to so many families that were saying, yeah, now their kid's been diagnosed, but they can't access really good care. They can't get testing for mycoplasma. They don't have access to immunoglobulin therapy or antibiotics. Some parents were saying they can't even get antibiotics. And they sit home and stress over the gap now that they have a diagnosis, a real diagnosis, but a lack of access to care. A lot of providers are far, they're booked up. I know how that is. And so we really cannot stand for that. And that is another great thing about events like this that really bring in providers for training. We have a long ways to go with that. Some of you know, many of you may not know about the October 9th Pandas Awareness Day campaign. We started it, it was either the 3rd year or 4th year. I can't remember because time, you know, how like weird and blurry it gets when you're in Pandas hell and then stepping out of it. And there is life beyond Pandas hell. I'm letting you know. But anyway, 3 or 4 years ago, we launched a campaign for October 9th Awareness Day. It may have been random date, but so around the country and even around the world, parents and families, kids with pandas, friends, providers, everybody has been creating awareness activities, fundraising events to bring more information to their communities. And it's actually been really exciting. And another, I think really how that started was we were going to encourage people to work with their state assembly to have Pandas Awareness Day proclaimed on October 9th. And so a number of moms started to work with that in their individual states. And that was actually how this started. And so as of so far, we have 3 states that have received their final formal proclamation for October 9th. We have 12 states pending the awards that should clear by this year, October 9th. And we have 5 states with paperwork in progress. If you want to find out more about that, if your state's represented, if you want to dig into that, if you want to play with us and just make something even bigger this year happen on October 9th, please visit our website. We can help you, we can support you, and also list any activity you're doing, or you can tap into other people in your area. And I heard there's also, Mom made a Facebook page about that. I have not visited that, I just heard about it, but there are a lot of ways people want to connect, and we all know that social media has been, I think that became my best friend, really, for a number of years when the rest of the world went by and my world stopped to handle pandas. And we all know the isolation that comes from that and the blessing that Facebook and other social media outlets has become, really, right? Anyway, the only other thing I'd like to say is I want to do a shout out to Dr. Margot Tiedemann, and she has left, but Margot has been a real pioneer and actually a local hero on the West Coast since 2007, when treating pandas was even more risky. It's risky today. You can get in trouble, you know, for stepping outside of the guidelines, prescribing antibiotics and other things, and everyone who's a pandas provider, we know the fine line that we walk all the time. It can be dangerous, but it was even more dangerous when it first started in the earlier days. And Margot actually left the institution that she was working with at the time because I did not support her treating pandas, and we really love her. Anyway, that is pretty much all I have to say, and you know, we really just invite any participation and networking. It really is all going to happen within the relationship of the parents. We will push the tide, and I think we all know that. And so what I'd like to do now is introduce the next speaker. Dr. Tracy Fritz, who has been up here all day. Many of you know her because she is also a local hero. She works with Little Flower Center of Integrative Medicine in St. Louis, and she's been invited to speak just because she is a local hero, and she has played such a crucial role in the recovery and turning of the tide here for many children with PANS and PANDAS and their families in St. Louis and the surrounding areas.